Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
6 days, and you still get 7 days on the boat.
Yeah.
And the food is...
Because you really don't pay for anything once you're on there except for drinks and gambling, if you gamble.
Well, knowing Tyler, what they'll probably do with him, see, you can buy a Coke, a soft drink pass for, ours costs $20.
Oh, that's not bad.
And that's all the sodas you wanted.
That's good.
You had to get him at the fountain though, but you couldn't get him, but you could get.
That's not bad at all.
And you had to pay for ice cream.
Oh,
Except, if you got it on the outside, but if you had it with dinner or something, it came with your meal.
oh, okay.
You ever been on a cruise?
Yeah.
Remember the
Awesome.
food?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Oh God. Anytime you want it. Now it's 20. So I don't know. Now it's 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind taking one.
Okay, camera's rolling, so we got a little bit of you talking to Kim, so we know your relaxed state.
That's right.
So when we start answering questions, we don't want you to tense all up. The reason we're doing this right now, the reason that I am doing this, usually you flip through photographs of people, and you have an idea of what that person was like, but you really don't. Another person can tell you about that person, but your own view of that person is just by a still photo, and I want more than that. I want more than that to pass on. So I'm going to record it, and it's hard for me right now because I'm trying not to think of when I'm going to watch this tape. You know what I mean. So, and you say when I say that.
No, I don't know what you mean.
No, I don't know what you mean. So we'll start off with about when you were born, where you were born, a little bit about your childhood, and we'll go from there. And you got to stay in the relaxed state.
Okay, I was born December 10th, 1930 in Elko, Nevada.
I guess first we got to start off with who you are, because this thing will be around for thousands of years.
Robert Frank Carnahan. I've already given you my birth date. From what I'm told, I was born with the cord wrapped around my neck.
Really?
So I guess I'm glad. I'm
Lucky to be here. You were born in the town of?
What's that?
Born in the town of?
Elko, Nevada.
Elko, Nevada. To
Myrtle June Yeaman Carnahan and Robert Raymond Carnahan. My dad was a railroad man, so consequently we moved a lot because he was on the extra board in those days.
the what?
And the extra board is when they needed somebody extra, they called you, so
Okay.
it wasn't really a permanent thing. So we moved between Salt Lake, Elko, and Winnemucca, and finally ended up in Portola, which I will probably mention later. I guess as things went, as a kid, I guess we had happy times as kids.
Tell us a little bit about your family and the income or lack thereof, and because I kind of want to work through that and to where you are today and how you did it and along those lines. How many siblings you have?
I might get sad thinking about
No, that's okay. I mean, that's we're gonna because we're gonna evolve into happiness through this video and
I hope so.
process.
When I was born, I had only one sister, Betty, and she's 4 years older than I am, almost to the day. She was born on December 8th. I was born on December 10th.
Were you the closest to her, you would say? through the years?
Actually, probably my next younger sister, Shirley.
Yeah.
It's, we,
I love you, by the way.
thank you. Um, let's see. You want to know about my family and everything?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
My
The
father-
reason that, just to get to where we're going, the man that you've become, and really, I mean, just
Don't say too much, just let me tell you the story.
okay.
My father was a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde alcoholic. Not with me, because I ended up with 5 sisters and myself, and in later years another brother. But he was, when he was drinking, he was mean. I mean, bad.
Since you could remember, since you were a child.
Oh yes. But when he was sober, nicest guy in the world, didn't bother anybody, he stuck to himself, read a lot. He read thousands of books. He's an intelligent man. But I guess you could go back, something about his childhood. When we were kids, we talked to our parents, but not very much.
Right.
About before. But my dad was,
About their childhood, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
my dad was one of 2 children. There was he and his sister, Rilla. Now, when they were, I'm not sure who was older. I think Rilla was older. But one day they were crossing a dry creek or something on a tree that had fallen across it. And she fell off. When she did, she hit her side on the rock. And it ruptured her liver and she died.
There or just soon after, or?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Probably a little while, short while after. And I don't know whether that affected him because he didn't really say. He loved dogs. His dad was also an alcoholic.
Oh.
He was a miner. He owned several gold mines, one time or another.
Really? Fairly successful man, or just a lot
Well,
of gold mines that didn't produce?
he worked hard for in the mines, and but this is from what my father told me. I remember my grandfather just a little bit, just very little, but he and my father's mother split up fairly early, so that it put him in a one-parent family.
Raised
Is
by
it-
his father.
Mother.
Okay.
But his dad would work the mines for a while and get $2,000 or $3,000 a head.
Wow, that was a lot in those
That was
days.
a lot. And then they'd go into town, take all his friends, and they'd party
Wow.
until it was all gone, and go back again.
Okay.
So he didn't have a close relationship with his father. In later years, they saw each other occasionally. He quit school when he was in the 4th grade.
Your father?
Yeah.
Yet he read a lot, which is...
Oh yes. He started drinking at an early age. He was when he was 13 or 14, something like that, when you could get a job without going through all kinds of requirements and
Through
everything.
the red tape.
No. And he went to work for the railroad as a call boy. Now, a call boy took the place of telephone because people didn't have telephones. They'd give him a list of guys that had to get to work, so he'd go and ring the doorbells and knock it and tell them, you know, you're on call in half an hour or an hour or something like that.
Okay. So he went and notified other employees of the railroad.
And he's always he was never a big man. He was, the most I ever remember him being was about 134 pounds.
Wow.
5 feet 9.
Wow.
But everybody thought he was 6 foot tall. Because he was thin and wore a hat, always wore a hat. And he worked up through the, he worked up in the railroad. He went from call boy to something else, and he ended up as a freight conductor on a run from Portola to Winnemucca.
Was he athletic at all? Not necessarily as sports went, but healthy and no? Or okay.
No.
Always frail, I
Yeah.
guess would be the correct term?
It wasn't that he was sick a lot, it's just that he drank a lot.
Okay.
And usually those benches would last for paydays would come, and he'd go and pay the grocery bills, and he'd go pay all his bar bills, and then he'd come home and be broke. But his credit was good.
How old was he when you were born?
I believe he was, I'm going to say, well, let's see, I was 30.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was 30.
Did people usually wait that long to have kids back then? 30?
Not necessarily.
No?
I really don't know much about that.
Okay.
In fact, it's kind of funny when you think about it, because they were married 4 years before Betty was born.
Really?
And then let's see, she was born in. No, excuse me. I'm just trying to think back. No, Betty was born in maybe a year after, or a year or two after they got married. But that was 4 years before they had another child, which was myself.
Right.
And then it averaged about every 2 years for a while.
Yeah.
But my father disliked Italians
Really?
immensely because his mother either married one or lived with one after she separated from my grandfather. So he didn't like Italians after that. Then Karen and I say we didn't like it. So that's pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, his lifestyle is the thing that killed him, because I think he was only 63 when he died. But he died with everything. Bad liver, bad lungs.
Did he drink up until the day he died? Or?
He probably would have if he could.
Oh.
When he passed away, he weighed 89 pounds. Now, Mother, on the other hand, came from a family of 10. 9 girls, 1 boy. So, and I'm not sure just where she
So that
fit.
was passed on through her family to you, which we'll get to later. But
She was near the bottom somewhere. But her dad was a taskmaster.
a what?
A taskmaster.
What's
In
that?
other words, he's tough.
Okay. Taskmaster.
And I don't know much about her brothers. Well, her brother, I think he was the oldest. He was, they learned years later that he was gay. That doesn't mean he was happy.
Okay.
And
Back
so-
then it did. No.
Oh, no, no.
Okay.
That's right. Back then it did mean So her and Dad got married when she was about 18.
And how old was he?
He was, I think he was about 8 years older than she was.
Really?
7 or 8.
So that's been passed on as well.
7 or 8 years old.
Do you know how they met?
Through one of her sisters.
Oh.
She was, he was going with one of her sisters. And I guess there was a spark there between the two of them. And so they got married. So it didn't have to, they got married, I guess,
Right.
because of them.
Right.
She was, I don't know what her education level was. She was really a sweet gal.
Stay
She
home.
wasn't-
Stay home, mom.
Oh yeah. The only thing was she wasn't an alcoholic, but she was a heavy drinker,
Uh huh.
and I realized that this was because of my father.
She found it easier to get along with him when she was a little liquored
Yeah,
up as well.
she could holler back at me.
All right. Got that false courage going on.
But yeah, she was always home. And, well, she didn't always take care of the kids because, unfortunately, with her, when she had too much to drink, she would just black out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But she quit drinking altogether when my youngest brother Doug was about 2 or 3 years old. She just quit.
What did they drink back then?
He thought wine was the worst way he could go. He says, if you get to the point where you drink wine, you're all through.
Okay.
They drink whiskey. The one I remember is 10 High.
Yeah,
I think they still make
I
that.
think they do.
But that was it, mainly hardly.
Straight up?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Whiskey, shot of water. They didn't mix them. But she was a good mother
Yeah.
when she wasn't drinking. Now life for me wasn't too bad. Except my dad used to, when he was drinking, he would, like, said, preach to me. Now don't ask me what he talked about because I really can't tell. But he would come home and he had talked to me for hours. He'd come and wake me up and talk. So,
Can you give us a general idea what he just on a? You don't know. Oh, you don't. Yeah, okay. Okay. Senseless babble, or
well,
he
it was
just.
probably something at the time. But
Okay.
he would do that. When he'd come in and I think, oh God, I'm gonna pretend like I was asleep. But that didn't work. So I don't know. Maybe because he didn't have a relationship actually with his father or something. But we never did anything as a family. We never owned a car because all the money was spent on other things. I remember one time we did have a car for about 2 weeks. Then I think he didn't make the payment or something on it, so they took it back. They did get a car in later life. They got the first V8 Chevy that came out. Was that 47 or 48, something like that? I'm not sure, but they did. And they had that for quite a while.
Was he fairly responsible financially, other than losing his car? Because you mentioned earlier that he'd get his check and he'd pay the grocery bill and pay his bar bill.
That he paid his bills. Honest was the day at long.
Yeah.
You know, he's like Abraham Lincoln. He thought somebody overpaid him 2 cents, or he showed somebody 2 cents. He'd walk a mile to give it back.
Right.
I remember one time. I don't remember the details of the incident. I only remember a couple of things about it, and I believe it was somewhere around Elko. We went camping. Now, I don't know if it was the whole family or he and I and one of his friends. I know it had to be with one of his friends because he didn't have a car. And we went camping and fishing. Then you could just drive out where you want, find a nice place along the creek.
You didn't have to get the
camp.
permit
Everything's
and
right.
have the
No,
stamp
no,
and.
it was right there. So then this big snake came across there. And I was a little bit nervous, but it didn't bother him too much. He played with a stick. Later on he told me it was a king snake. That's similar to a rattler, but it's not. It doesn't bother you.
Oh, okay. Not poisonous.
That's what he told me.
Non-venomous.
There. Anyway, we left. And I was putting out the fire or something, and we started the fire. And I guess it burned. We just got the heck out of it. I guess it burned several acres.
Really?
I don't know how much it burned.
So the fire started and you guys just.
Yeah, we were like keep ahead of it.
Oh.
You know, it was dry and the sagebrush and stuff like that, and that
Mhm.
stuff burned pretty fast. Just little things like that.
And your father was with you when you did that.
I didn't start, no.
Oh.
But I did start a fire when we lived in Elko. There was a vacant lot fairly close to where we lived. And I was playing with matches. And caught this vacant lot on fire. They were able to put it out before any great damage was done to it. See, when I was a kid, it's not only me, but, well, I suppose me maybe more than some of the other kids, but we were pretty free. When we were like 7, 8 years old, we'd get on our bikes, go where we wanted to, do what we wanted to, and things like that. So I was fairly unsupervised. And cigarettes and booze was available to me anytime. I really didn't care for either one.
Because of your father, you think?
I
Or-
don't know.
Don't know.
No, I didn't
didn't try-
consciously
Okay.
do that. I remember one time, I don't remember how old I was, I'm going to say 3 or 4, and I had done something. I was already doing something.
Even now.
They used to have laundries, because when I was young, they didn't have washing machines. Some of the more affluent people had washing machines. But they were gas operators. My grandmother had a gas operator. So you take your washing to the Chinese laundry, and you could either get wet or dry laundry. If you got it wet, they washed it, put it in a bag, a denim type duffel bag, and you'd take it home and dry it yourself. If you got wash and dry, then they'd dry it. So we had one of the laundry bags, and I'd done something. My dad, I don't know, put me in that bag. He was going to take me to the police or something like that. And I guess I was petrified. And that's all I just remember. You know, some things you just remember, just don't remember what came before or after.
Yeah. Did you do something for him to do that, or?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I mean, what could a 3 or 4 year old kid do?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we do sometimes to we scare our kids and just not realizing what effect it might have on them. I started the school in Winnemucca, Nevada.
Do you remember the name of the school?
No. But I registered myself.
Did you really?
Yeah.
At what, 5?
Yeah.
You just walked up there and said, I'd like to sign up for school, and had you not done that, you would have not attended
you know what
school?
I mean is, Mother knew I was going, but see, things were so much different. The kids were taught to be independent in a sense.
Right.
You know, so I don't think it was any big deal that I went and signed up myself.
Okay.
It might have been, but I remember doing that. I remember walking up the steps and going into school, and I liked school. Then one day It was probably in Elko, one of those things. 'Cause we went between Salt Lake, Elko, Winnemucca, Salt Lake, Elko, Winnemucca, wherever he could find work. I was playing in this yard or something. And oh God, it just makes me shiver whenever I think about it. I slid down this rough wood 4x4.
Yeah.
And I got a great big sliver. I mean, big. So they had to take me to the hospital, have it cut out. Can you
That's
imagine
another
that?
thing you just remember.
Oh, God. Then I think I went to first grade in kindergarten Winnemucca, first grade in Salt Lake. I'm not sure the early years, but I know that my last year in Elko was in the 4th grade. And that was the year that I got my first long pants.
First long pants?
Yeah. Used to wear overalls.
Oh.
So.
Were the long pants always in style, or were they?
I don't really know. I did have some knickers though. You know,
Those are the shorter pants.
Well, they're the puffy pants that were tied just below the knee.
Was school structured back then in such a way that when you transferred from one school to another, you could pretty much keep up, or they were studying pretty much at the same level? Or were you always a little bit ahead, so it didn't really matter where they were because you were right there with them?
Well, I never really had trouble in school.
No.
I didn't like geography or social studies. I liked math, English, music, things like that. See, I was going to say something before that.
You were talking about your first pair of long pants. The sliver.
Oh, and so when we were still living in Elko, I think we spent not a whole lot of steady time there, but we were there more than once. On Wednesdays, I believe it was, we used to go to the Elko Daily Free Press, which is still in operation here. It's been for ages, and we used to be able to buy the papers wholesale, 2 for a nickel, and then some for a nickel a piece.
Double your money, that's good.
That's right. So I don't know where I got the dime, but I'd buy 4 papers and some. And
Full boat? Full pop?
that's right. So now I've got 20 cents, which is great. That doesn't sound like much, but that was a show, and popcorn and candy. And other things we did there in Elko was there was a lot of ice in, because the refrigerators, they were few and far between. But there was a lot of ice boxes, so they needed ice. And what they did, if you came to buy some ice, they would put it in a gunny sack.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Burlap type, or
What's that?
burlap type gunny sack?
Burlap, yeah, the burlap gunny sacks. So we'd go around, a couple of us guys, and there are a lot of places that use gunny sacks. And we'd pick up gunny sacks, maybe 1 or 2 a day, whatever it was, and sell them to the ice house for a nickel piece.
Where'd you get the gunny sacks? They were just laying around?
Well, different businesses for one.
You didn't steal them, did you?
What's that?
I said, you didn't steal them, did you?
I don't think we had to.
Okay.
And with that, we'd buy ice cream and stuff like that. Then there was an old Italian fellow that lived in Elko, just down the alley from us. A lot of alleys in those little towns. Not the type of alleys you have now, but they
Right.
were, the houses
Real
were
alley.
small and close together, and there wasn't, it's. And he had rabbits. So we used to take one of our gunny sacks and we'd go behind the grocery stores and stuff like that. And you know how they tear the lettuce leaves off and stuff like that. And we'd fill that sucker full like that and sell it to him for a dime once a week or something like that. So we could make a few pennies. I never really got much money from my parents, though, because they didn't have it. Ask me a question.
You
Up to
say
the
you
fourth grade.
up to the 4th grade, and then you moved to.
Okay. Then we moved to Portola. We moved there, it was probably, I'm going to say August 10th or 11th or something like that, 1941. Because I know it was very close to payday. Railroad people get paid on the 10th and the 25th. And I think they still get paid on the 10th and 25th. So we moved to Portola, 1941, so I was 10 years old, going on about. And I finished 4th grade in Elko. And started the 5th grade in Portola. Well, practically everything I had in the 4th grade in Elko, they had in the 5th grade in Portola.
Okay.
I remember.
That's what I meant when I said
Yeah, well, I
it's
knew that-
structured and
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was almost the same thing.
In Portola, as Elko is just a small railroad town. Would it be a railroad
Portola?
town?
Yes, so it was a railroad town. It was, they used to have a roundhouse there. You know what a roundhouse was? And that was pretty important for the old steamers. They would be pulled in there and they'd be worked on. Or they'd bring them so far, and the way they'd turn them around is in the roundhouse. They'd drive in a roundhouse, they would turn it around, and then point it back the other direction.
That's right. I never tried to figure out how those trains turn around. They just go. That's why they got the engines on the front and the back.
And so that was probably, I have more memories of that in Portugal. I met my best buddy there, Delmer, Missouri guy, from Missouri. We met in the, I think, I'm not sure where I met him. I know we worked together in the bowling alley. Now the bowling alley was a duck pin alley.
Which means
The pins are only about this big, and you have to set them by hand. In fact, you used to have to set a lot, but the duck pins you set by hand, the balls were about this big. No,
you threw them overhand.
If you got mad, you did. And we used to get a penny a line. Sometimes you'd make only one penny, because the older guys were there too.
Oh, and they'd only play.
Yeah. So,
How old were you at that time?
10. 10 or 11. Just walked in and asked the guy if he needed somebody. They said, yeah. Didn't need my parents' consent, didn't need school's consent, any of that stuff. So I did that for a while. And then I used to mow lawns. Oh, in fact, in one place where I did get decent money was in Elko. I used to mow the lawn for one of my teachers. I'm just trying to think. I think her name was Mrs. Levitt. Yeah. And I don't know what I made. 25 cents.
That's.
So. But that
You used her mower?
Oh yeah. That didn't preclude her from. I was in her 3rd grade class, and she brought me up in front of the class and walked me uncomfortable.
Really?
Oh yes, they could do that. And I was never bad. Just disruptive.
Okay.
Well, I don't remember that altogether, but I just remember it. And then in the 4th grade, this one teacher, she had probably been fired now. Put tape over my mouth during one recess.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you cocky or were you just?
I think I was just active.
Yeah.
You know, no. I never
Outgoing.
I never was cocky. Maybe I wanted attention, so, you know, I don't really know. But I lost my train of thought.
She put the tape over your mouth.
Yeah. That was in the 4th grade. And I remember back, now as you know, it's trouble telling you something is because something rings a bell and then it goes back.
Right.
I used to make castles out of chairs.
At school, or?
That's take all the chairs, stack them up, make these castles. And my relatives used to hate seeing me come over.
Oh, really?
It would be like, oh God, bar the doors, hide everything, Myrtle and her brats are coming over.
Oh, back then you would have been,
3, 4, 5, something like that.
I mean, they would have had you on Ritalin or something. You would have been an
Probably.
ADD child.
Yeah, or something like that. But I'll remember this one incident that in the olden days, the cars had starters just above the gas pedal. You had to push on the starter, and then if it started, then the gas was there, so you could, as I recall. Well, behind my grandmother's house, my aunt had parked her car. It must have been 6 or 7, because I think it was a 36 or 37. I could have been visiting there, but I think I was there. And so I got in the car. Of course, I thought this, I'm sure, because you didn't have to have a key or anything. You could just step on the starter. So I stepped on the starter. I guess I moved the car about 50 or 60 or 70 feet. I've been so
You
mad.
crash it, or?
Oh, no, it was great big feet.
Oh.
There was a friend of my father's in Portola. No, excuse me, Elko. Had a Model A. And I don't know if he let me drive that when I was, steered or not. But I know that he is a pretty good friend of my father's. But you can bet that all his friends were alcoholics. In fact, for a while I thought if you weren't an alcoholic, you couldn't work for the railroad.
Oh.
But one day, now this is when I worked so hard for Dad, he offered me $1 to stay home from school. I wouldn't do it.
Wow.
See, I liked school.
Mhm.
I liked it.
Because?
I don't really know, but I enjoyed school. School was different. We used to have rainy day classes where in the classroom you'd walk around and block off certain sections, and you had to sit down, or if you didn't, you lost your place until there was only 1 or 2 people. I didn't care too much for spelling bees because I could spell and things like that, but it was not one of my fortes. Math is what I liked. Then the war started.
In what year?
1941, December 7th. Delmer and I was up behind the high school. We heard all this commotion. And then you didn't have radio and television. I mean, not everybody had radios. So you didn't have TV or anything, so the kids would be extra, all the paper stuff. So we went down there and found out that the Japanese had attacked Pearl Harbor. So I'm not sure, what happened there, or what I did for okay. I'll try to keep it as chronological as possible.
That's right.
Going back to the early days, like 41, 42. At one point,
You were 12 or 13 at the time?
no, I'm just trying to think. See, Uncle Doug was born in 1942. So I'd say in 1942, sometime in 1942 or 43. Us kids were taken away from our parents.
Really?
Yeah. You can understand why, right?
Yes.
Um,
They still did that back then.
yeah, but not with all the viciousness they do now.
Right.
So, but we were fortunate that one family took us all.
7 of you.
No, Betty wasn't there because she left early.
Oh.
So there was just myself and Shirley, Jackie, and Loretta. So I guess we're 5 of us. Because Doug wasn't there and Betty wasn't there. That was, show you how things have changed. I'm just trying, I don't know where the girls slept. Probably slept in the house where they built a little addition to the house for me to sleep in. And then just one bulb hanging right down in the house. Now to show you how things were then. They had no indoor plumbing. They had no running water.
Heat? Just a stove? Old style wood stove?
I'm not sure what type of heat we had. But they did have chickens and rabbits, so they knew that we'd get fed.
And there was electricity because you had the light.
Yes, yeah. But show you how standards and things, how people survived without.
So the chickens and rabbits were used for consumption?
Well, not that much consumption. They were used for extra income for the family.
Okay.
So we lived there for, I guess, almost a year.
Really?
Yeah. And then we got to go home. Things hadn't changed any, but I guess they were tired of paying these people to take care of us and everything. So then when we
Did
came
your parents
back,
visit you when you were over at the...
I can't really say. Yeah, I can't, you know, it's strange, but I couldn't tell you. But at that lady's house, I met a kid that had just moved in, and he lived real close there. His name was Eugene Terry. And we became good friends. He and I and Delma, which was my best buddy, ran around together all the time. But I think probably in 1943, 44, I can't remember. Must have been the summer of 44. We had 2 movie theaters in Portugal at one time. One at, both on Main Street, one here, one down there.
Half mile apart?
No, probably about 4 blocks. But that was a big town when I first moved there. When I first moved to Portola. How many people were there? 1,500 or something like that, or it's a large number. We had a Safeway store, several markets, a lot of bars. So there was one store located right next to the movie theater. It was Beek's Market. Mr. Beek was a rancher who owned a ranch out in the Clio area. You know where that is?
Mm-mm.
Well, you know where Beckwith,
Mhm.
not Beckwith, but Blairsden.
Uh-huh.
That's just a few miles out of town there.
California, of course.
Yes. So he owned this market. It was a meat market and grocery store. Of course, he supplied the meat and a lot of the meat and stuff like that. So I was standing out looking at the marquee one day, because R&T Market was here and the movie theater was here. I said R&T, well, I'll tell you how that changed. Then this old gentleman came out and he says, "Hey kid, what are you doing?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Come here, I got something for you to do." Oh, and in those days, milk came in glass bottles. They came in, you know, if you bought in a wooden crate with the metal crossbars. And the way you would move them about is they had a cart, just, you know, just a flat wrought iron thing on wheels. So he says, I want you to take these over to HM&J, which was just a few buildings, just a couple of buildings over. So I took it over there.
Full bottles of milk.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
because I was taking him to the restaurant there,
Okay.
which he sold milk and stuff, meat and all that sort of stuff. And I came back, and he says, okay, here's your card. He says, what are you doing for the rest of the day? I says, nothing, I guess. He said, stick around, I have some things for you. So that job lasted 7 years.
Wow. And you were how old when you first started?
About 13. And I didn't quit there till after Mother and I got married and moved to San Francisco.
Wow.
So he was, what a neat guy.
Yeah.
See, that allowed me to always have money. But it also kept me from doing anything. Because I worked Saturdays, after schools, and summer vacations. When my friends were out getting in trouble, living it
Right.
up.
Right.
So I guess neither was good nor bad. I guess it was good. So I ate well. Golly. Stuff I used to eat in that market. The donut counter. You know, you could eat stuff off shelves, and I'm sure they don't let you do that in stores. But I could eat a whole Boston cream pie.
Just like, Bob, if you're hungry, you just you get a fork.
And so that was a good job. That was good. Always had money.
Did you provide for your family as well?
No.
No.
No. My money was my money. But they'd borrow something once in a while, so I'd give it to them, but I didn't pay them anything on a regular basis. He started out paying me $2.50 a day. And, but he also paid me $15 a week when I was going to school. See, you know,
Over and above the $2.50.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
And I took, you know,
So he encouraged you to go to school.
oh yeah. In fact, I had practically all the credits I needed at the end of my junior year. Well, just had a few to go. But in those days, it was required that you have 4 years of PE. And so what happened was, in order to get the credits that I needed and the PE, I went on an apprenticeship program for meat cutting. And so he and I and my mother went down to Quincy and filled out the papers and got the agenda and all of that sort of stuff. So I got credit for working. So all I had to do practically in my senior year was go to school. I think I had one class. Go to gym. Well, I took enough to eat up until 12 o'clock. And then I go to work and get credits. So I had all the credits, buku credits when I to graduate.
What were the store hours? How many hours a day did you usually work? 8 hours or 10, 12?
Whatever.
Really?
That's right. Yeah.
Overtime?
I didn't get
Okay,
paid
that's
that.
right.
Overtime. Yeah. I didn't even know what overtime was.
It's something you acquire over time.
That's right. Just trying to think. Didn't have any girlfriends.
You saved your money a lot from when you were,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you started saving it right away? Did you open a bank account or, yeah?
Yep. One of the first things I bought, because when we moved to Portola, we lived in two houses. One on the south side, which was the older side of town, and then shortly thereafter we moved to the north side. And we'd sleep 5 in a bed.
So
3
you
at the front,
bought-
3 at the top, and 2 at the bottom. So the first thing I did was bought a set of bunk beds.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I bought myself some clothes. I bought myself really neat chocolate brown pants
Yeah.
and camel color coat, brown shirt, you know. So yeah, I did save my money.
It sounds like a great job. I mean, especially where you were in your life. Food,
Oh, it was a
money,
good job.
shelter.
Oh yeah.
The gentleman Beak was his name?
No, uh, uh, Milo Townsend,
Yeah.
who was Leo Betzer's father-in-law.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think of so many times. You know, it's
Was
hard
he a
to-
drinker too, or?
Milo?
Yeah.
He drank occasionally,
Yeah.
but he wasn't an alcoholic. No, he was not. When I was in school, and I don't even know why I tell you this, we had a teacher named Leslie G. Creigh, K-R-E-I-G-H. And now the reason I remember him is because, and I may have told you this before, and it's not bragging or anything, but just,
For posterity.
well, maybe,
Was that right term?
Maybe. or ego, maybe it's free. He was fifth grade teacher, or was it the sixth? Fifth or sixth. But it had to be in early years because after the war started, which he went to war, so maybe it was, in fact, he wanted to adopt me when we were, but my folks were Dad wouldn't go for that. But on two different occasions, he told the class, in front of the class, he said, Bob Carnahan's the smartest kid in this class.
Hands down.
And then at another time, I just remember because it was so pretty powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he was probably making as a school teacher $50 a week, if that much, maybe 40. But he said I would send Bob Carnahan, if he were my son, I'd send him to college if it cost me $1,000 a month. But then he went to war and got killed. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Because I was going to ask you if you had contact with him after that.
No, that was the end of that.
So you were a pretty sharp guy.
Well, to me, I didn't think so. What I did was normal. I just did what had to be done. But school never really excited me. I liked school,
Mm-hmm.
but I looked forward to getting out of school. In fact, in your senior year, the principal used to call you in and sit down and talk to you and ask you what you're going to do. He said, well, I'm working in the market. And I says, I don't know. He says, I really think that you should think seriously about being a teacher. And I said, well, no, I've had enough school for that. I said, all right, I had a job and everything. When I quit, I said, I had a job. I think then for a full-time job, I was making maybe $35 a week, which was good money. I didn't have any expenses.
How much did your dad make a week back then? Do you remember or no?
During the war?
Yeah.
10 times as much as a meat cutter, or 5 times as much as a meat cutter. When a meat cutter was making $70 in 2 weeks, he'd make $350.
Wow.
And he blew every dime. So, maybe that's why I saved, I don't know. So is that enough about the...
I think so. Kim, you think we
About the
covered all
young
the
guy.
bases there?
Then, I graduated from high school. That was 1949. class, I was a big class that year, I think about 36 kids. So then I went to work for the market. And, but I did buy myself a new car.
What kind?
A 1949 Chevy 6.
That's one with the squeak in it? That had a squeak? Or?
the rattling. No, that wasn't. That was another car.
You rode in the trunk, right, to see where it was? Or?
That's right.
Go ahead and tell that
And I
story,
found
because that's kind of a...
It was a bad. The rubber that goes between the two shocks was cocked or something in it. And we clunk, clunk, fix that sucker. But before I got the Chevy, there was this 1948 Ford Woody convertible. It had a few miles on it, and in those days, 35,000 40,000 miles was a lot of miles on your car. You could start looking for valve jobs and things like that. So I went to the banker and talked to him about it. And you know, everybody knew everybody. His name was Vigo, I think. Vigo. Wasn't Vogel, it was Vigo. He said, buy it. Because I just did. He says, I won't finance that car.
Why?
He says, I think it's too old, too many miles, it needs too much stuff. He says, but if you want to buy a new car, he says, then we'll sit down and talk. So, seems like everything happened to me in August. In August, I had a couple of cars before that, but I'll tell you about one I had really. But so I went into the Chevrolet dealer and I saw this one car. I liked it, so I went to buy it. And
where was the dealership? In Portola?
yeah, right there. In fact, they had a Chevrolet dealer, a Ford dealer, and a Chrysler dealer.
Wow.
No, they didn't have a Ford dealer. I take that back. Ford dealer, if you wanted a Ford, you had to go to them. And so I went in and made arrangements. Dad co-signed for me because I wasn't 21. And I've never had trouble with credit. Never. And so I bought the car. And that was neat. Not too many kids my age had new cars. They drove cars, nice cars, but they belonged to their parents.
Right.
But I see if somebody wanted to go somewhere, if they had a car, we took their car.
Oh, yeah.
I
don't want to take mine.
I didn't take my car. But that was my first new car. I had a couple of cars before that. I had one really nice 31 Model A. Beautiful car. Leo Betzer bought it after he came back, and he's always been a car nut. In fact, he went to Vallejo to get it paid $300 for it. And beautiful car, nice paint job. It had 16-inch wheels on it because then you took the stock tufts. Get those off of the both things, you get the nice round wheels, the big tires. It had a beautiful rumble seat and it had a plaid upholstery. It was a really nice car. So Leo drove that for maybe a year or so because he wanted something different. So he bought a 1949 Ford. And he sold me, no, it must have been a 48 because I didn't have my car yet. So he sold it to me for $275, and I paid him like $25 a month or something like that. So that was a nice car, but it wasn't old enough to drive. You know, so, anyway, I had it. So let's see. You're anxious to know when I met your mother, huh?
Yeah, but I think what I'm going to do now, because
What's that?
as I listen to your story,
Oh, you want to ask questions?
no, I'm going to get from this shot. I'm going to go to her from birth to about where you are right now, to where she is about that 18, 16, 17, 18. So we can
17, 18, she was married to me.
Oh, that's right. Okay, 50.
Okay.
But
that's fine.
what else within that realm of time that we're
Would
covering?
Of course, with her, you're going to have to ask questions, pull them out of it.
Really?
Yeah, she won't volunteer. She won't do that. Okay, if you want to slip that in there, that's fine.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you my brothers and sisters and their names? I didn't tell you that.
Let's do that.
Okay, Betty's the oldest. Then I was second. Shirley was third. Then was Pat, Loretta, Jackie, and Doug. I think that's... I can give you the years they were born, but that don't make any difference.
What did they do in Portola when the years that your family lived there?
The girls?
Yeah.
Well,
Did girls work much back then, or?
no.
Okay. So they just had to rely on meeting the right guy and going that way,
In
their
fact,
fate in their
you know,
hands.
as I mentioned, the home life, I think all the girls were gone by the time they were 15. Except for Jackie.
Where did they go? Or did they go?
Got married.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were they the relationships that I know of? The men that they were with? Or were they soon after?
Let's see. Betty, you knew Glenn. But actually Glenn was Betty's fifth husband.
Okay. That's why I asked.
Yeah. Then there's me. Joan's my first wife.
That's right.
Shirley was married 3 or 4 times. Next one, what did I say was Loretta? Loretta was married twice. Jackie was married 3 times. Doug was married twice. And the girls, not Jackie. Jackie and Doug, they said their home life wasn't too bad because mother didn't drink, and
they were
she had
the
dad.
younger.
Yeah, and she had that under control by then. So
What did Doug do in Portola? Did he work and?
no.
How much younger than you is Doug?
13 years.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he was, when he was here for, I used to take him delivering groceries with me. The truck.
Yeah.
He always looked forward to that. But see, we left, I'm not sure who was, well, let's see, I guess Doug and Jackie and Loretta. Were home when we left. When I left.
Then Doug followed you down to San Francisco.
After he graduated from high school.
Yeah. So you had been down there how long before he came down?
Oh, probably quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then my dad.
When did your parents move to to Petaluma?
I'm not sure, but they moved there because of Shirley. Shirley was such a. I don't know what they would have done, Mom and Dad, if it hadn't been for Shirley. Because Dad got fired off the road after being there for 50 years. And then he had to get what work he could. They moved to Stockton for a while where they had some sort of Mickey Mouse Railroad or something. And then I don't know if I think he drew his railroad retirement, which one then was Beans. And then he moved to Petaluma, where Shirley looked after both of them. Thank goodness for Shirley.
What about the bicycle story?
I didn't. Okay. I knew I was going to tell you some.
Because I know it had a great impact on your
It did.
your life.
And I don't really get excited about a lot of things. You know, some people, incidences or things they're looking forward to. I don't do that, and I'll tell you why. It was during the war, and I didn't have a bicycle, but I was working at the market. but you couldn't buy a bike. They didn't make them. Everything was directed toward the war. So-
Metal and other resources.
What's that?
The metal and other resources,
That's right.
rubber.
Yeah. So Dad came home from work one day and he says, Bobby, he says, I stopped at the bike shop because he knew how bad I wanted it. So I stopped at this one place. He says, they've got this nice bike. He says, not ready right now because the guy's reconditioning it and painting it and everything. And it's going to be black.
What city was the bike in? What bike shop? Do you remember what city was the bike shop located?
Winnemucca.
Oh.
Winnemucca. And he said, so I stopped in there and the guy was working on it and he said I could have it for $40. Now $40 was an awful lot of money. So he says, I'll tell you what, he says, for your birthday, or for some occasion or some reason, he says, if you'll pay $20, I'll pay $20 and we'll get that bike for you. I said, that's fine. So I think they needed the money up front or something. I'm not sure, but the money's not important. So, oh man, I was excited. I figured I could ride to work and do all those things you do on a bike. Anything you do in a car now, you could do on that bike.
All right.
Every day I was looking forward to it.
How long was he gone? How long was the trip? When he was
Well,
gone?
usually when he left, it was an 8-hour trip, 8-hour, 10-hour trip to Winnemucca, and the bike wasn't ready yet, though. The guy was working on it, and so every time the Dad came back, I'd ask him about it. He said, "Well, he's still working. He said, but it'll be ready."
Okay.
And this went on for. It seemed like months, but I'm sure that it was only a matter of maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So he said to me on this one trip, he says, it'll be ready this trip, and I'll pick it up. Oh, man. So he came home. He came home that probably early in the morning because he'd get there. His hours were so bad. I said I'd never work for them, never, because their hours were just awful. So he probably got home in the middle of the night. So, but I knew he was home. So I'm looking all over the house for that bike. And usually I wouldn't go in and wake him up, but I woke him up and I says, "Where's the bike?" And he didn't say anything. He said, "Look at the yellow paper on the dresser." And I forget what it said or said, but it said something about an accident. And he says, "What happened, Bobby?" He says, "I was going to send it home on the passenger train, in the mail car." He says, "But I knew how bad you wanted it, and he said I wanted you to have it." So he says, "I put it on the caboose." Now, he hadn't had an accident in 50 years. But he said they were rear-ended by either another freight or passenger train or something. And I guess they were lucky to get out, and it messed up the caboose, is where he broke. And it burned up the whole caboose and bike with it.
So it was actually in the caboose.
Yep.
No insurance?
So, and that did affect my enthusiasm for things.
Material items.
Yeah. Well, or events even. It's,
Really?
when it's there, it's going to be there. And that was pretty devastating.
But one of your sayings throughout the years has been, but waiting's half the fun. Waiting's half the fun.
That's right. Waiting's half. True.
Mm-hmm.
Once you
The
get something,
anticipation.
once you get something, it's no big deal.
Right.
I mean,
You just want something else.
Yeah.
Something bigger, something better.
waiting for anything. Somebody to come, anything. Get it, and once you become comfortable with it, but that waiting is the best part. So So then you want to talk to your mother before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we've covered everything about, enough about your childhood in Elko and Portola, and anything else you can remember about Portola that had any effect on your
But that,
The way you-
no.
who you are? Or,
Oh, who can tell what does that? I probably learned that never to ask people for things.
and that's because
Uh,
they didn't have anything to give me.
Well, it wasn't that so much. It was. Now that you mentioned, my dad used to say, "Don't ask people for things. Don't ask them for that. Don't ask them for that." If I did. But
Was there always food in your? Was there food in your house? I mean, what did you do before you got the job at the market? What did
well,
you do for
no.
food?
Dad, he did have credit. In fact, all the railroads had charge accounts at grocery stores because you only got paid every 2 weeks, and they didn't handle the money the way they did now. They didn't have plastic card. or anything
Right.
like that. So no, we ate. Except now, in the maybe I can even go back further than that. You brought some more things to mind. In the bad times in Porto, Elko, before the war, my dad worked on the export. And there were times when we would have drop biscuits.
What's a drop biscuit? Biscuit that was dropped and it was all dirty.
Drop biscuits were, as I recall, were like baking soda, flour, and water. And I think you fried them in a pan. Drop biscuits and water gravy. Now the base of that gravy was bacon drippings and things like that, so it wasn't really too bad.
Sounds tasty though.
It wasn't too bad, it was salt and pepper. And then we would have lunch, like maybe peanut butter jelly sandwiches or something that went a long way. And then for dinner we'd have maybe mashed potatoes and some more water gravy and once in a while hamburger and stuff like that. It was a pretty, but amazingly enough we were in good shape.
Mm-hmm. Good health.
Yes, we did. Betty had appendicitis one time. Of course, she didn't send people to the doctors unless they were having babies or dying. So she spent about a week in bed, packed with ice. And to this very day, she still has those appendix.
Really?
Yes. We would go into the doctors for tonsils and adenoids. I had my tonsils taken out, but for one reason or another they weren't able to take out the adenoids, and so I guess I still have those. So things like that. One day, I was this is still in Elko. I was going down the street or something, and I saw this piece of paper, and I always pick up paper and look at it, just see it. And it was a check. It was a signed check for $125.
Wow.
So I took it to the bank and gave it to him. I found it. And it was sometime later, I thought, I don't know, maybe a week or 10 days or something like that. Dad got a check in the mail for me for $2.50.
Reward.
Yeah. I didn't get it because we needed it. We ate that. For
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember that. Another time when I was young. I delivered papers or something, and I was up on this shed for some reason or another, and I fell off the shed and fell onto this board with a nail in it. And I think it went into my thigh or something like that. But,
Rusty nail?
I
Didn't
don't
matter.
know.
That was all And what about hygiene back there? Because I know I've heard the story before, but
Hygiene. The only time I take a bath is when I was absolutely just forced to. Of course, I was going to say we probably didn't change our socks too often or anything, but in the summertime we didn't wear socks a lot. When I was young. I mean, didn't wear shoes. But we did have fun. You know, you see these movies, Huckleberry Finn and those guys, that's about the way it was.
bathing in a big metal tub and.
When we were with that family in Quincy, it was in East Quincy. You took your bath and galvanized up.
Outside, inside, depends on what. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was interesting. What's in it? at the same house, she was a good lady, Mrs. Thomas. She had a couple of sons and a daughter, and we would have rabbit, we would have chicken, but then sometimes we would have makeup meals. We'd have beans. Oh, I hated beans. I love beans. I like beans, all kinds of beans. But I didn't like them then, and I'd mix them up with ketchup and stuff like that, and hide them in my shorts. I just couldn't eat beans. And that reminded me, and she used to make our lunches for us. Now, for years I hated onions. And Joan said even after we got married, I didn't want onions in anything. For lunch, she used to make us onion sandwiches.
Just onion. Big, thick slices.
Of course, the onion was out and you ate the bread and mayonnaise.
There you go.
So that might have affected my taste for onions, but that's why when kids don't want to try things, they try them anyway. If you don't like it, spit it out and puke. You don't have to eat it again. Try it again next time. So, but yeah, that was. But all in all, things weren't too bad. Oh, so yeah, independent kids were not now free. Even there in Quincy, when we lived in East Quincy, was 3 miles to town. It was 3 miles from where we lived to the movie theater. And I got a quarter a week for tending the rabbits. I had to clean their cages, make sure they had water and stuff like that. And Shirley and I would start walking to the movies, 3 miles away. We'd usually get a ride. Somebody takes us into town. But if not, we walked.
People just pull over and give you a ride, or
Yeah. And but the dump used to be on the way.
I remember vaguely where the Portola dump or the Quincy dump is, up the little dirt road by the fairgrounds.
Yeah, just beyond that. And we'd go up there and scrounge through that. Find some good stuff that ended up on the logs and some
Yeah.
other stuff, and some candy that was not unwrapped. And,
Yeah.
that was good. And just beyond that is the cemetery. We never went into the cemetery, but the crematory thing was just right there where you could see it. And what they do is we never saw it, but what they do is build a great big huge fire under there and put the casket there, just burn it until it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So then we'd walk into the show, see the show, head for home. If we didn't get a ride, we walked that 3 miles. So there I was 12, and Shirley was 10.
Now, what do they use the rabbits for? There's a lot of rabbits back then. Rabbits and.
No, what they did with the rabbits was he sold the rabbits for meat to market something. The same thing with chickens.
The chickens I could see. Rabbits aren't as popular as they were back then, I guess.
Well, I think they keep that market depressed. Rabbits extremely expensive, considering how fast they reproduce. I mean, rabbits like $3.95 a pound. Back then we had stewed rabbits, fried rabbits, roasted rabbits. I wish I had all that now. And they did sell the skin separate. In fact, speaking of that, Delmer's dad was something else. He was from the real old school. keep your wife pregnant, keep them at school, keep them at home, be complete Lord and Master over your kids and the rest of that. They gave you a bad time, you gave them back your hand, and so. But he was also a trapper. And we used to, Delma and I used to go set the traps in down around Blairston and Grey Eagle and Clio. And then we'd get ermine, mink, we'd get
Really?
beaver and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we'd get those and we'd take them home, and then his dad would skin them and dry the skins and sell those. But it was, when I look back, I was at the tail end of the tail end of the 20th, the beginning, I guess, of the, well, that period where things were still really pretty antiquated.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of houses didn't have indoor toilets. A lot of houses didn't have running water. A lot of houses didn't have electricity. In fact, we lived in Winnemucca. I don't know how long we were there. We lived in this one-room unit. I'm not sure how big it was because I was smaller in the, the dimensions. But I know that we had, and in more than one place, we had
Fireplaces?
no, we had those kind of lamps,
Oh,
no electricity.
oil lamps?
Yeah. Coil oil, we used to call it.
Coil oil?
Coil oil.
Cool.
Coil oil lamps. Didn't have running water. And we didn't have money to buy fuel. So what we would do is go to the back of the newspaper place. We'd get the newspaper and we'd roll them up,
Real
soak
tight.
them, get them wet, then let them dry out and burn those.
What did you do for water? Where did you get the water for cooking and
There was
bathing?
probably a pump or something.
Was there?
Yeah. And it was really,
A good time?
when I look back, it was.
Compared to today's standards, when you see what kids have to go through, or they
Oh,
don't have to go through, but
kids
they don't
today,
have to go through.
I feel sorry for the kids today. Like you think they've got everything, they've got the games, and they don't have nothing. They don't have anything. They don't get to use their imagination.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get to get out and be adventuresome. They don't get a chance to take normal chances. So what do? They drive fast cars, they do all these things. So they miss out on all of it.
Mm-hmm.
The more that's done for you, the less of a person you're going to be. Because people do not grow except in adversity. There has to be something for us to overcome. If everything comes to us, then it's
Why
good
do anything?
for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't envy the kids of today. No. I mean, the kids, well, look at the young kids today, drinking, smoking, having sex at, 11, 12, 13 years old. Not that wasn't that we didn't whisper about it as kids.
Right.
But our view of that was so much different
Yeah.
than it is today. And I don't know, it's just, I'm glad I was born when I was,
Yeah.
because lived all this time and sitting here today, and so there was good times and some bad times. But then, it's almost as if as if in life you're supposed to be unhappy. You know? Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What do you spend most of your time doing?
Working?
Isn't it solving problems or looking at things that are negative?
Yeah.
Now, are you distressed and sad less than you are happy? And the answer is no. We solve problems. Every day we solve problems. Once in a while there's some good times in there. Now the people who can realize this can live through those bad times because they know it's part of growing. And that the good, when the good times are there, enjoy the good times.
Mm-hmm.
But know that there's going to be some bad times. Because if you think the good times will last forever, you're wrong. If you think the bad times are going to last forever, you're wrong. So, and you should always contemplate before you make a mistake. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, well I guess we'll stop there and then we'll cut into Grandma. And I noticed this, first your dad and then your grandpa and then you acquire that name, the name that, because everybody calls you Grandpa now, you know, even Kim. Are you supposed to call Grandpa? It's not not your dad anymore, it's just Grandpa. I just thought I'd throw that in. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause her now.
But just remember, to be as old as I am, you have to live a long time.
Okay.
Now it's over there at the end of the stove.
I remember when I'm trying to open that door.
Okay.
Did you get rid of all your silverware?
Just a couple days later,
Just about.
we're back. Thanks for joining us once again, Robert. If I may call you Robert. Actually, you've never been too hot on children calling you by your first name. It's always really bugged you, hasn't it? Like me calling you Bob. It just doesn't.
Well,
it's
no, I
just
wouldn't
not.
like that. No.
No, you've always been. You've
Carol
always
does that
frowned
just to
upon
upset
it.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
But we're back and we realized there's a couple things you forgot to cover in our first segment, which was birth to about 18 years old.
Well, I still hesitate.
Kind of the wild side that you're trying to hide.
Well, I don't know if the wild side or the crazy side, but
Eyewitness. Let's start with eyewitness. Do I start with eyewitness?
no, not eyewitness yet, because that's too far out of sequence.
Okay.
But while I was still in Salt Lake and young, probably 4 or 5, very close to our house, there used to be a set of tracks, and on that track ran we called it the Bamberger car. It ran from roughly downtown Salt Lake out to Playland. And once in a while, a couple of us kids would lay down in between the tracks and let the train run over us. Which,
How close to you was it? Inches?
well,
Real close.
you know, there's probably about that much space, so we was laying there, so we probably had plenty of space, was just the idea.
I take it there was a lack of adult supervision at that time.
You could say that, yes. And while I'm living at that same house, I was hit by a Model A. Guess it didn't hurt me too much.
Guess not.
The guy didn't stop.
He's all liquored up.
I don't know. He didn't stop.
Where he hit just kind of caught you with the front fender, or
With
you
the
don't
front
really
bumper,
remember?
I guess, and maybe
Yeah?
I
Spun you
walked
around?
out in front of him or ran out in front of him or something. I don't recall the details. I only recall being hit. So that was it, just a couple little things. But the other thing was the eyewitness. I mentioned to you eyewitness. Eyewitnesses to me are irrelevant and unbelievable, and I'll tell you my story. My best friend, his name was Delmer. He and I
Just make sure he's
he and I did everything whenever we were together. We were real buddies. But he was quite a ladies' man. He wasn't very big. He was 5'6" probably, if he was at 5'6". But he was cute and muscular and all that sort of stuff. And he flirted with all the girls. He didn't care. He could be 12, 15, 25, 50. So we were at a local ball game that, like they used to have, you know, a few guys get together and have a ball game. And he's talking to this one girl whose husband is playing ball or something. And he got out of he went over to where her husband was, and they were talking or something. And they started to have fisticuffs. He loved to fight.
Yeah.
The bigger they were, the better he liked it. And so I'm sitting in the car with his wife.
The guy that he's beating up on.
Well, it's sort of a, you know, draw. So
Okay.
somebody grabbed him to pull him apart. You know how you will, you get behind somebody and you hold him. Well, this one guy held the big guy, who was her husband. And Delmer hit him a few times. You know, he took advantage of the situation. So they finally broke it up. So the next day, we get a call from the judge, lady judge, nice lady.
Wait. Thank you.
Nice lady judge, she called us, and she said that they had sworn out a warrant for us, that I held her husband while Delmer worked him over. And as I said earlier, I was in the car with her, talking to her,
Right.
when this fight was going on. So I never put credence in eyewitnesses unless there's a whole lot more to back it up than that. And that's all.
Could it have been a friend of his that was out to get you, or didn't like you, or wanted to involve you, or?
No, it's just that they went down and swore out the warrant. And I told the judge, nothing ever came of it or anything. Because in those days when you had fights or things like that, you settle it among yourself, you know, unless you kill somebody or worked them over with a club or something. But normal, and there was a lot of things settled that way.
Sometimes that seems like the right way.
Well, it worked.
Yeah.
We didn't go to jail for it. We didn't disturb the peace, none of that. So I guess that's all I have to say up to this
Okay.
point.
Okay. Guess we'll break away now, and you all ready for yours? I kind of have a script for you.
Yeah, 'cause
I have questions.
I don't have stories.
We got Mom in the bullpen, getting ready to come up.
Well,
Is there a pinch hitter?
I'll finish up the dishes.
Okay.